Make sure. So, all right, great. So I'll go ahead and get started. All right, there you go, Chris.
Hi, everyone. This is Chris Clark. I'm the Outcomes Coordinator for the campus. I'm here with Charlie Liu, and we are here to talk about the Outcomes and Assessment portion of the program review document for 2017-18. So to access the form, you're going to go into your program review component in TaskStream. There'll be a menu on the left-hand side, and where it's highlighted Outcomes and Assessment, you're going to click on that. That'll open this page, the bottom section of this page. Hit Checkout up in the upper right-hand corner, and that will take you to the form that needs to be completed then. It's not moving. There we go. So when you get to this page then, after you've checked it out, it'll there's an area where it says complete this form. You're going to complete this form. It's highlighted in yellow, just kind of down at the bottom of the page. And we'll look at the form in a few minutes, but I also want to point out that at the bottom of this page is a place where you can upload your attachments. So if you have data, if you have results from assessments, if you have a document from the outcome side of TaskStream that you want to incorporate here, you can upload all of that to this page. So the forms, there are 4 separate versions of the form. So depending on if you're an administrative unit or counseling and DSPS or instructional or student services, your form is going to be a little bit different, but we're going to look kind of generally at the forms. The forms all ask the same essential questions. It's just the wording on them is a little different depending on who you represent. For this, your best resource is your Department Outcomes Coordinator. They will be able to help you pull the stuff out of the outcome side of TaskStream, and you can rely on them to help you answer the questions and get the data that you need to fill this section out. A couple options here. You can request copies of the OA. You can request copies of the OA forms that were submitted by the doc last year, which will help you gather the information needed for this section. Or you can actually just download the form from the program review side and hand that to your outcomes coordinator and have them provide the responses to you, and then you can cut and paste those in. So there's a couple different ways you can do it, or you can meet them in person and sit down and go through it together. So the form questions. So the first question is, what outcomes and or courses were assessed in 2016-17? So if you're student services, you're going to be looking at the outcomes that were assessed. If you're instruction, you're going to be looking at the courses that were assessed. And we basically just want you to fill in what courses, what outcomes for those courses, or if student services, what outcomes, or administrative services, what outcomes you looked at last year. The number 2 is, what venues for discussion of outcomes assessment did your program have? And by this we mean, when did you talk about it? So after you assessed you ran the assessments for the outcomes, got the data back, what happened to that data? Who was involved in the discussion of the results of that data? And when did that happen? Was it a department meeting? Did you do it online? Have you met a few times about it? Because you realized that in the data there was an issue and you wanted to discuss it and figure out what the action plan was going to be. So what were the venues for that discussion? Number 3, what have these assessments revealed about your courses, programs, service areas? So this is where you're going to go into a little bit more detail about what you learned. So perhaps you learned that of the courses, of the sections of a course that you assessed, maybe there was a gap in the student learning, a skill that they didn't have that they needed it, and you're finding that across the board in all of the classes. So then that would be what was revealed. And then the next question, number 4, is, what do you plan to do with these results? What is your action plan? Maybe you didn't find out anything and you were happy with the results. And so your next steps might be to move ahead with a different course assessment. But it kind of depends on what your results from the data would have been. Question 5, based on your assessments, have you identified any resource needs? This is really important because this is an area where you can justify requesting things through BARC or through the faculty hiring request or the classified hiring request. So if you, through your assessment data, realize that what you really need is an extra station in your lab because the students don't have enough access to the equipment, then that gives you the justification to request that extra station in the lab. Likewise, if you find that you really don't have the faculty support that you need and you need another full-time faculty, that will add to the justification that you're going to use to request that faculty member. What are your assessment plans for 2017-18? So at the meeting that you had at the beginning of the semester during Flex Week, we asked you to make plans for your program assessment or to continue making plans for course assessment. Likewise with student services and AUO, make plans for moving forward with your assessment process. So what are those plans? What are you planning to do this year towards assessment? And then 7 is, are you on target? So as a doc, do you feel that you're on target with where you need to be in your assessment schedule? Share that with the lead writer so that the lead writer can respond to this. And really, you're looking at, if you're instruction, you have 19 courses that you teach. And so if you look over a 6-year period, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to spread those 19 courses out over the 6 years. You might want to look at them over 4 years and then go back and reassess in areas where there were problems and where you have implemented an action plan and want to see the results of that action plan then. So it's up to you to kind of determine that schedule. Departments that have huge number of courses may take the full 6 years. Departments that are smaller, you might only have 6 courses or 12 courses. There's an expectation that you might visit them more than once. And then if no, what plans do you have to get the assessment process on schedule? So are you planning to meet and discuss this as a department or as a program? What are your plans to make sure that you stay up to date on your assessment process? And then the last question is any other comments? So anything you want to add into that might help us as the Committee on Outcomes and Assessment to maybe understand some of the issues you're having. Also, that would be helpful to the lead writer in terms of things that might be necessary, important for the program review process. Now Charlie's going to take you through a few forms in TaskStream, and then we'll come back to questions at the end.
All right, great. Thank you, Chris. I don't know if it'll work. I have it logged in.
Okay, good.
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you a couple of strategies to kind of make this process a little bit more efficient for you on your end. So what you can do is once you log into TaskStream, I'm going to go ahead and pull a TaskStream workspace over and share it with you. One efficient way you can work on completing this form is to extract it out of TaskStream, so that you don't constantly have to log into the system to look at these questions. So I just brought up a sample workspace. You notice I'm in the Outcomes and Assessment section here on the left. So once you select it, as usual, or as always, remember to check the item out. And then you want to go to complete this form. Let me see. Hang on 1 second here. You bring up another workspace. Okay, you go into the 17-18 program review. And again, you go under Outcomes and Assessment workspace or section, check the item out. And you go to complete this form, which is right here on the bottom. And that will drag you into the form. So again, you're free to work in this space if you wish, or if you want, you can extract this form out so that you have it on your desktop or maybe in the USB drive for easy accessibility. So to do that, you just hit print here on the top, and then you're gonna get a message just saying it won't print or it won't extract until you put some type of data into the form. And this is a task stream thing. Not your fault. So I just put in a simple character, and you hit print again here. Now you can extract the form as a Word document.
Talk about the fact that there may be a pop-up blocker and how to solve that problem.
So depending on your browser that you may have, this window may be blocked when you hit print. So just remember to disable or to allow that pop-up blocker to occur for this one time, or this, at least in this area, and then you can access this window. Okay. Again, if you have any issues extracting this form, you can always reach out to me and I can assist you as well. So once you hit export to Word, it'll come up as a Word document. And then from there, you can, again, just save it onto your hard drive and then work on it as you navigate through your program review sections. And then once you're done, you just copy and paste your answers back into the live form.
You can also, if your doc is someone other than yourself, you can email this to your doc and ask them to respond to the questions.
Exactly. That'll be also another good strategy. Now, let's say if you are the doc and you are filling out this form, a lot of the questions that we're asking you in this form, you can find in your outcomes assessment document that you did for your individual courses. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to navigate out of this and actually just pull up a course for you to see. Okay. Chris, was there a drama class?
Drama 105.
Okay. So on your end, you should have an idea, or at least if you are the doc, you should have an idea which 2 courses you assess or course you assess. If you forgot, let me know. I can pull that up for you, or I can find it for you. So in Chris's example here, she knows that Drama 105 has an assessment form completed in the 2016-17 year. So once you select that, there is a View Responses link here. You can simply click. You don't have to even check anything out. You just click on that Review Responses link. The form will come up, and then you just extract that out into a Word document. And then from there, you can work on it side by side. You can see what you did for this particular class and fill out that program review outcomes assessment form side by side. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of those questions on that program review form, you'll find the answers right here. What course did you assess? What outcomes did you assess? What were the results? And what were your action plan? So all of this information should have been completed already. So you're just simply summarizing and pulling that information out into the program review form.
And do they have to have writer access to this, or can they pull this up with reader access?
They can pull this up with reader access.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if as the lead writer, you do have reader access to your outcome side of TaskStream, you can go ahead and access this yourself. If not, then you can either chat with your doc first, because your doc should be involved in this process. But you and your doc can agree that to have you have access to it, and Charlie, just contact Charlie and he can give you reader access to it then.
Okay. And if you're the liaison, this is a good idea, or a good thing to share with your lead writer as well, especially if your lead writer is not the doc. You want to make sure they connect with each other and collaborate on answering this piece.
Yes.
All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the forum, and allow the participants to ask any questions. So I'm going to unmute you guys. So I see Lee and Nina. If you have any questions, you guys are live right now, so feel free to jump in.
Are you both there?
Yeah, no questions. Thanks. This is
Okay.
Lee.
Lee, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
All right. All right. Perfect. Then.
I think we're done then.
Yeah. So what I will once we are done with this, I'll make a copy of this recording. I'll make sure to send it out to the both of you and as well as everyone else that is involved with program review, so that they can review this information. So there's our contact information in case you need it.
And feel free to contact me for process and procedures, and Charlie, if you have task stream questions. And if there's nothing else, then I think we're done for the day. Thank you both for attending.